You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, last Friday we got to see the remake of Evil Dead, or rather the remake of The Evil Dead, which they called Evil Dead because the Terminators are out this season.
Yeah, totally not cool.
And you know what that means? It's time for another Don't F with the Original, in which we will discuss, of course, the original Sam Raimi cult classic, The Evil Dead.
Yeah. I'm Nicholas, the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and film critic. So, we'll start with the synopsis, although, honestly, I think everybody knows the story. A bunch of young adults go to a little cabin in the woods, and some jackass decides to read from the Necronomicon.
It was actually recording. They pressed play, and it was the recording that was read. So you didn't even have to read it this time. It's just, pre-recorded stuff.
That's right. Oh yeah, and then there's a girl going, "Stop the recording," and the guy goes like, "No, I don't want to, because I'm a jerk."
Exactly.
And of course, they awaken a demon, an evil force, and they all get possessed one by one until there's the last man standing.
Yeah.
As far as plots go, it's about as simple as it gets.
I know. Was it like one of the first ones or something? That's why it's so simple? Or
it was before the formula was well established, but it is not the first one by any means.
All right.
All right, so the movie is highly celebrated. It's one of those highly regarded movies, but I know for a fact that you don't feel the same, so I'm kind of curious.
Again, maybe because I saw it after all the other movies that, I've heard of, but I thought it was very bland. I expected everything that was going to happen, and it happened. It was okay. It wasn't spectacular. It was just okay. Nothing really blew me away. I will say the special effects looked very good, because practical effects, very nice, very good looking.
Especially for its budget. Like, it's a teeny tiny budget.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this movie was funded by a dentist who went like, "Oh, you want to make a movie? Yeah, all right, I'll put some money in there." Like, it's like the tiniest of budgets ever.
A dentist. He could have plugged himself somewhere in the movie or something. And the acting was okay, satisfactory. I didn't find it that scary, though. It was like...
See, that's interesting, because that movie still creeps me out today.
Really?
Yeah, I find it very disturbing and very unsettling. And I think it's mostly narratively speaking. Why the movie is so celebrated is because of what it brought to cinema, which has nothing to do with the story, which, as we've established, hardly there.
Yeah.
But there's an uncanny amount of really cool new camera tricks invented there. The classic Raimi cam, which is the camera that's like sort of moving as if it's a beast in and of itself. That was new. He also removed a couple of frames from the movie just to make the movements a little bit off, and also I think it's to help with the claymation so that the real life actors would be as sort of
herky-jerky a little bit.
Herky-jerky as the special effects, so it wouldn't feel off. But and that sort of unsettles me. There's something illogical about what's going on and weird and
I saw that and I could see that. That's why I guess the special effects were so great with the claymation, because it blended very well. You could see it looks as good as the rest of the movie basically. So I can understand that now. Yes.
Yeah. So and infection horror, if you will, tends to get to me more.
You mean when you're perfectly fine, all of a sudden you get possessed and the people become the bad guys instead of having something else kill them off one by one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And all the stuff that's related to that, like Lamberto Bava's Demons, sort of works with the same mechanics, and I find it really unsettling, whereas most people find it really corny.
Okay.
But and all those camera tricks, I think that's what makes the movie interesting. It's a filmmaker, Sam Raimi, just starting out, not really having a budget to work with at all, and sort of finding creative ways to tell the same story that, today would take about $2-3 million to tell.
Good point. Yeah. I do understand what you said. There were certain fun parts of the movie I did enjoy, like when he's, about to chainsaw his girlfriend, and he just can't do it because she looks perfectly fine now, and he's like, no, it's like I can see myself being there. I was like, I couldn't do it either. It's like, even if it's like, no, she's perfectly fine now. Maybe she'll be better later or something. Is like, yeah, at certain parts, yeah, but I thought towards the end when it was just like all the zombies against him and he's just freaking out. It was like it got long.
I actually like that part. That's weird. Like, I feel completely the opposite, where I like the last quarter of the movie where it's pretty much a one-man show. It's Bruce Campbell versus everyone else. And and like, for example, there's like this really long elongated shot where he decides to, strike back, and he goes down into the cellar, gets some ammo, and then comes back. And there's nothing that happens to him. He steps into mud. There's a pipe that blows up and there's blood in his face. But the fact that the camera just follows him through that process instead of just cutting to him suddenly having weapons, for me it was tense. It's sort of like now you have to follow the guy step by step, and he's already panicking, and to a certain degree, he's fucked. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
And you sort of have to wait to see when he's going to get screwed, and just having to step through all of these things, and you're following him step by step just puts me into this, and that's what I liked about it.
I guess having, prior knowledge of the sequels kind of maybe kills it for me, okay. But I knew he was going to be fine. Unless he plays a different character in the other movies, which I didn't think so, but... Yeah, there was one shot I really enjoyed. I guess it's a very simple shot, but I thought it was like very effective when he's like touching towards the mirror.
Oh yeah,
and he pushes his hand through, and it's like water, and he pulls it out. And I was like, that was a really nice shot. And it's like, how did they do that? It's spectacular. I know he just dipped his hand in water, but it looks like he's still vertical, and his reflection isn't there. And I was like, that is a very nice shot that I really liked.
Yeah, no, it is a good shot. And I'm going to counter-argue just for the sake of it. There's one special effect that makes me laugh all the time in the movie. It's the moon. There's a full moon there.
Yeah.
And if you look carefully, you can see that it's a matte painting of a full moon that's put in the background.
God.
And then you can see the square. Like, you can see the blue square that doesn't quite match the rest of the sky. It's hilarious. Every time I see that full moon, I'm like,
I didn't notice that. I'm going to have to rewatch it. They couldn't find a way for, I guess they have shots of the full moon and them as well.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't wait for a full moon to film or something.
I know, it would be super expensive.
I guess, yeah.
It's like, alright, that's enough for this month. We only got 6 minutes filmed. Next month,
Oh, come on. You have the whole night for the full moon. It's like more than you just, go to bed early. We have a long night tonight.
Yeah, but we got to set up the cranes and everything, so you're losing half your night. Already.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm going to have to go back and check on that.
It's hilarious.
You just ruined the movie for me now.
Oh no! I just ruined a movie you didn't like that much.
Speaking of a moment that makes me laugh, that scene where she just runs in and she yells the trees are alive. And I just like, yeah, trees are alive. What's your point? If she said the trees attacked me, okay, yes, but the trees are alive. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of interesting thing to say there.
Oh.
I did think it interesting too that, the fake out where the car's not going to start, is it going to start? Oh yeah, it does start. The problem is with the bridge. You're like, oh, it's interesting. I didn't see that coming, but okay. I was really expecting the car not to start. And when the car starts, you're like, okay, well, maybe he'll get her out of here and there's something's going to happen. But, no, the bridge. Forgot about the bridge. Completely destroyed.
Speaking of that, I find what's kind of amusing about the movie, and the sequels become comedies as it evolved. Like, funnier and funnier and more ludicrous and less and less serious.
Okay.
And I can see where it comes from because a lot of story is built on the concept of It's like every time the heroes try to do something, it doesn't like, oh, we can't do that. Now we're stuck in the situation. That's not what Evil Dead does. The Evil Dead, what they do is they let them do it, and it looks like it's gonna work, and then they reach a point. It's like,
nice.
It's like constantly.
I also find it kind of funny that we need to bury her. As like, you cannot dig a hole that fast in the forest. I'm sorry. Ground is probably super hard. It would take hours.
That's true.
Okay, let's bury her. Okay, fine, good. Okay, you just need to get rid of the corpse. I get that. Get rid of the corpse. And, okay, good. But it's like, Bury her? Nah, don't work.
I like the eye thing that they did when he's burying her, like, which is a callback to an earlier scene when he's about to give her the necklace thing.
Yeah.
I thought that worked. That was really suspenseful.
Yeah, it was. One thing I thought, as like, I was really kind of freaking out. I was like, is that guy that misogynistic? Because, only the girls were affected, and, the other guy, he kind of died, but he didn't turn into a zombie. It's just...
Well, at the end he does.
At the end he does, but, through like 3/4 of the movie, it's like, wow, only the girls are turning evil. Is there a message there that I'm not seeing or something? What is Raimi trying to tell us here? And it's like, okay, then the guy becomes a zombie too. It's like, okay, that's fine. It's cool. Okay.
I think the reason for that is because the survivors get knocked around a lot. And that's part of also what makes it kind of funny.
Yeah.
Is that this is a movie where the heroes get the shit knocked out of them all the time.
Yeah.
And I think if, as an actor, it's easier, especially in the 80s when the gender dynamics were what they were, to sort of go, all right, you, my friend, I'm going to kick the crap out of you for an hour. Whereas the girl's like, no, you turn into a demon really fast, so it's not going to be as bad.
I can see that. I understand that. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, speaking of kicking your crap, I didn't understand why, okay, the special effects on the demons and everything is so great, but then you have Bruce Campbell, whose face is like, he looks like he's wearing pink makeup. It was really distracting. I was like, why? This looks like pink makeup. This is not... make it red at least or something. But he just looked like he had like really pink cheeks. And you're like, what? What is this weird?
Well, speaking of Bruce Campbell, wow, that was not great acting.
No, I mean, he's known for giving good performances, not good acting more necessarily. And, but in this one, it's like, I do not understand why he became this cult favorite, because it is terrible.
It's his first movie.
I get that. I understand. But it's like, why are you torturing me? I'm like, oh my god. Read that again, please. With emotion this time. I guess he gets better in the later ones.
Oh yeah, no. By the second one, it's completely different. His performance already, and I think he's an actor who works better for comedies, period. So the second one, which is essentially a remake of the first one, but as a comedy.
Okay.
Well, suddenly his sort of wooden, awkward delivery becomes hilarious,
Okay. That makes sense.
But the first one is serious, and sort of what I like about it is it is kind of a perfect representation of H.P. Lovecraft's concept, if you will. Well, you have the Necronomicon, which is totally an H.P. Lovecraft thing.
Yeah.
But the whatever it is, that the spirit that haunts them, that goes through the woods and is just a camera moving through things.
Yeah,
it's sort of a nice representation of the color from H.P. Lovecraft when you stop and think about it. It's this thing that people can see but sort of not, and that's moving, and so you can't represent it physically because it's described in the book as, something that I can't describe.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's sort of almost a great film adaptation of those Lovecraftian concepts, if you will.
Okay. Did not know that coming in, but it's interesting.
And I like the inconsistencies about it. Like, the girl who got attacked by the trees, she can see it. She turns towards it and runs, and she goes like, it's right there! And then you have Bruce Campbell going like, yeah, there's wood there. Like, for some reason, he doesn't see it.
Yeah. Her fake out of, her trying to unlock the door, and all of a sudden, she drops the keys, and the face that Bruce Campbell made when he grabbed her hand to get her in, you're like, what is this face he's making? It looks like he's trying to kill her or something. But yeah, it's like, that's interesting. And, but about the other characters, are they anything else they represent or something? That they're sure that she did that, but...
I don't know. I don't think there is.
Okay.
I don't think it's a terribly profound movie,
okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
The Lovecraftian thing, I definitely think it's there, because that is totally the color. And it is, it's even called the Necronomicon,
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
But I don't think there's much more to this movie than that. I think it's totally style over substance, and the style even then is limited by its budget, and so you sort of have to respect it for its incredible creativity more than anything else.
I mean, I don't know what the budget was. You're saying it's very small since it was funded by a dentist, but for that, I mean, the effects look great. They look more real than most, CGI movies I've seen recently.
Yeah,
It's really... it's a treat to watch movies, back then, and it's like, wow, this is what they were trying to do to make things real and more look like. They just didn't plug it in the computer and like, good enough, it's real because they had to do it, and it's there. It's not just okay. Well, there's always something off with CGI that people still haven't put their finger on because it still looks fake like 20 years later, I guess.
Yeah.
But here it's like, look, it's actually happening. That thing is melting, and you can see just stuff flowing out, and it's like, wow, this looks good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, the final sequence where there's a lot of stuff melting, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. And you CGI, they would try and make it, and it would be all uniform and all nice, and there wouldn't be any texture to the thing that's going out. It'd just be all perfect liquid flowing, and it'd be like, it wouldn't be as cool, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And what helps it I find is the sound effects. Like the way that they moan is weird. Like, because obviously he distorted the voices somehow, and it's a cool sound. Like, it's a cool, like, that's completely off-putting.
It's not human. It's you can hear it. It's not. It doesn't sound human. It's probably done by human, but he modified it enough that this is what is this? All those whisperings too. It makes you really have to focus to hear what they're saying. Like, join us. It makes you focus even more on the movie, so you get the what's happening. It's really, I think the sound is really well done.
No, I agree. Although it does raise a question, the whispers there, where it's like, why is it that some demons, like some possessed, attack him savagely, and others just sort of like sit there and taunt him instead? It's like, it's sort of like, if you wanted to kill him, you could have just got off your butt and stopped saying, "We're gonna get you."
Well, they just wanted to, they like to play with their food. Is my guess.
See, my theory was that they like to torment them because to turn into a demon, you sort of have to give up. And so they torment them until they're sort of primed and then possess them. That's my theory.
Are you saying the woman gave up too early, gave up really fast? So
well, she got raped.
Yeah, it's true. But the girlfriend, she only got stabbed with a pencil, which would be impossible.
No, I believe that the human flesh is a little bit stronger than that.
Yeah. She got stabbed in her foot, and she gives up because of that. I mean,
well, I think all the stress of seeing her friend being messed up and like, we can't go out of that thing. It's like maybe she just like, we're screwed.
Good point. And she was sleeping too when it happened, so yeah. I did like the jerk, he's like, she's your girlfriend, you deal with her, and he leaves, and he comes like, you need to help me. And like, wow. Spectacular.
It does beg the question, like, why do you hang out with this guy?
Well, some people just show their jerks in, times of, great stress.
Yeah,
so
although he was a jerk to begin with. Like, they establish his jerkiness quite early on.
A little bit. It's, I don't know, maybe it's the theory of going around. Maybe he's such a jerk that he becomes cool. That's how it works for me. So it's... I was just, just rolling my eyes again a little bit when, again, the cliche of the clunker car at the beginning, and, it's like clunker car, it's this really isolated place, and again, like when I watched the thing, I figure, okay, it's the first one, so I guess it was original back then, but do you think it really holds up, today? And, besides the effect, I really, watch the last quarter of the movie for the effect is great, but the first 3 quarters just, it seems pretty run-of-the-mill. If you would average out every movie of that kind ever done, you would get The Evil Dead, it seems to me.
Yeah, well, because it's such a plot-light movie, and even a character-light movie. Like, there's like, the Ash character doesn't really come off until the sequel, where it's like, okay, now you've got a character you can get behind.
Yeah.
So it is pretty bland in that sense. I think the sound is still really respectable and sort of really keeps me entertained throughout. Like, okay, so they have the little almost accident on the road, and you're like, yeah, that's not going to play into the plot. That's just filler.
Yeah.
And then, but once they get to the cabin, like, the movie hasn't even started, but it's just like the sound of the little wooden bench sort of hitting the wall. Like, that's a great, weird, creepy sound, and like that holds up. Like, like the style of it still holds up, I find.
These people are brave, though, I have to tell you, because I see you take me to a cabin like this, and I see the cabin, I would insist immediately, you're driving me to town. I'm sorry, I'm not sleeping here. That cabin looked rancid.
To be honest, like I feel like I would not go into a cabin in the middle of the woods without having seen the cabin first.
Yeah.
Like that was a weird plot for me, where it's like, and it's like also like if the previous owners died because they also awoken an Necronomicon demon.
Yeah.
Who did they rent the cabin from?
Yeah, some guy that found it that, okay, this cabin's mine now. I claim it in my... I'm not staying here. It's too creepy. I'm going to rent it out.
It's like, yeah, you peed around it. It's my territory now.
The previous owner, he had his notes and, his wife turned into a demon and everything, but did he escape?
Oh, that's a question, yeah.
Maybe he managed to get out, or, the bridge was still standing, I'm guessing, so...
Yeah, but that's a weird thing, too. It's like, I got out of it, my wife turned into demon, I left the thing that can rise demons, but I'm gonna rent my cabin to perfect strangers without cleaning it up first.
Hey, was it in the movie 81? Tough times, he needed the money.
Which make a good point about that cabin, though. Like, at this point, go camping, man.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, you're gonna have better anemones if you go camping.
Yeah, I know. And also that cabin looked so much bigger from the inside than the outside. I don't know why. It's just
That's true.
There's so many rooms on the inside, and outside it looks like, a shack.
It does, although we only see the front. We rarely see the side where maybe it's sort of like built over it and over it. Which I guess. So I got the impression that it's like, it's a cabin with basically like the kitchen and the dining room, and then the place where the floorboard keeps going up for the basement.
Yeah.
And then the bedrooms are sort of supplementary rooms that sort of are in the back and were add-ons to it. That's sort of the feeling I got.
Maybe, yeah.
Like we're going into the details of the architecture of the cabin.
But it is, because, it's kind of, when if you kind of cheat like that, you have like this tiny cabin in the wood when you come in, and it's giant from the inside. This isn't a Mobius strip here, There's a certain amount of limited space that you can, it's not infinite.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, the thing that bugs me about the cabin also is it's not the number of rooms, because I saw it as an extension in the back, but it's like that basement is huge.
Yeah.
Like for a crummy cabin that seems to have been put together by amateurs, which is fine. Like cabins are often put by amateurs, so it looks real. But it's just like you look at the basement, it's like they dug all of that. Like really, like you don't have to bend down when you go into the basement. That's rare for outhouses and summer houses.
I know, and I don't know. They dig all this giant basement, but they don't put electricity in it for some reason. And the rest of the house has electricity. The basement, nah, don't worry about that.
And they put on, like, this is not just a summer house, like, because there's a lot of stuff in that basement.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of stuff in that basement.
Also, kind of weird when you learn that the book you're reading is made of human skin. Don't you just throw it on the ground?
Oh, I totally would. Yeah, actually, just looking at the thing, I would pick that thing up.
I don't know. Human skin. I don't know what, because you don't expect the book to be out of human skin. So it's like, oh, this is a weird cover. And you start to, when you learn it's human skin, you're like, ugh.
I don't know. That cover looks creepy and weird. I wouldn't touch it. Like, I'd be like, ew.
That's a good point.
There's a special edition DVD that came with, like, a foam version of that cover.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a cute gimmick. And that's the one I bought for myself, because I do own the movie on DVD. Yeah, I threw that thing away. I find it looks creepy. I don't want it.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if it's made out of foam?
I was like, ew. Thrown away.
So you paid extra for the special edition DVD, but you didn't...
No, I got it on sale, because the thing with Evil Dead is that it's released on DVD like every 6 weeks. It's like this weird thing.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Anchor Bay has a new... So, there's a gazillion different editions with a gazillion different covers. And, the old ones just become really cheap because they're pushing the new ones, obviously.
Yeah.
And depending on how much they had prints or whatever, you get what you get. So, yeah, I always go for the cheapest with DVDs because I'm interested in the film. I'm not interested in the bonus features. I'm not interested in the box. I just don't care. Okay. I like the film. So, yeah, that one was like, I think like $15 less than the other edition.
Oh, wow. So yeah. Because I think it's funny you buy, this special edition. I bought it for the box. Now screw this box.
No, I don't get like the people who like our friend Dennis from the Dreamer's Edge podcast. He will buy the special editions things, and sometimes he'll call me. He's like, "Did you know that they released this?" Because I work with the DVDs and whatnot. I used to subtitle them. I usually am aware of these things a little bit earlier than he is, and I let him know. And well, once it's in market, because I'm not allowed to let them know before. But
Okay.
but and they'll be like, "What? They're releasing a new Lord of the Rings with a new cover, and it's so much nicer. This is bullshit. Now I'm gonna have to spend more." It's like, no, just don't. Like, I don't understand.
Especially if it's. I thought that the extended edition, Lord of the Rings, was pretty complete. Why you would buy a new edition because it has a nicer cover if they don't have anything else, which I doubt they can. I mean, the extended edition came out with 6 DVDs, explaining everything. How everything was made. What else can they add?
That's true.
But honestly, a special edition of Evil Dead, seeing how they filmed it for so little, would be actually interesting to watch. So
that's true though. That's true. It's one of those movies that's almost more interesting to find out how they made it than
just watch a movie. Special effects were really nice. This is how we made this, and this is how we made that go, and that'd be great. And Bruce Campbell, he was so tired of being full of blood all the time, but we had to spray more blood on him.
Well, actually, that's the running joke, especially in the sequels, where the running joke is that Ash gets the crap beat out of him for anything and everything. Like the second movie has this great joke where he's alone in the cabin again, and because he never managed to leave. And he gets the crap beaten out of him. And then there's people who finally come in, because the movie eventually needs victims.
Yeah.
And, you'd go like, oh, he's got to get some help. No, they go like, oh, there's a madman in our cabin. So they beat the crap out of him some more.
Wow. So it's their cabin. They're the one that's renting it.
Yeah, well, it's the daughter of the previous owner.
Oh, okay. Oh man, there's a madman. Oh my god. Now you're making me want to watch the second one, even though I didn't quite enjoy the first one that much.
I'll be blunt with you. They're different movies, because one's a comedy, and the one you saw is the straight balls to the walls horror movie. So yeah, no, totally watch the second one. The second one's my favorite. It is like a balls to the walls, crazy, stupid, insane comedy, and it plays off really like a parody of the first one.
Okay.
And then, if you like the second one, you have to check the third one, because the third one just abandons all horror and turns into just a flat-out adventure comedy.
Okay.
Because he travels in time.
Nice.
The third one's called Army of Darkness, but its original title was Medieval Dead.
That's clever.
Yeah.
That is very clever. They could have, kept the subtitle or something.
I would have really liked that.
Maybe it's too smart for the audience.
But no, I know that the studios went like, look, nobody saw Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 except for Horror House, and what you're asking us to market is a, adventure comedy. Let's just call it something that reflects adventure comedy and not.
Okay. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's a fair argument.
Yeah. So should we talk about the new one?
Yeah, we should talk about the new one. Yes, we should. That's a good point. Now, we're recording this before either of us has seen the new one. And by either of us, I mean me, because you're not going to bother.
Probably not.
I am sort of really interested in it. I wouldn't say excited. That's not a good term, but I'm interested in it. I know a lot of people are like, how dare they make a remake of... But first of all, one of the reasons we have this show, Don't F with the Original, is because... we both have sort of a slightly different perspective on it, whereas like we think a remake has a shot of being interesting, but we want to point out some of the key themes that has been celebrated in the original that makes it that like, okay, here's what they need to respect for it to work.
Exactly. If you change everything, it's just it's insulting.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing with Evil Dead is like, I ain't the plot.
No, it's not.
And he ain't the characters.
Nope, ain't the acting either.
No. So it's all about technique. It's all about style.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting is that the director of the remake decided to we're going to go full on practical. No digital effects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, in this day and age to do that, that's gutsy.
Yes, it is.
So, I like that it's a director who understood what it is that he's been asked to do. If you're going to remake Evil Dead, you have to go technique. You can't just go like, well, we're going to take this amazing story and tell it our own way. It's like, who cares? Like, it's a standard plot of every slasher movie.
Yeah. But, I mean, full on, that's interesting. You think, however, that, with all the digital stuff that came out, you think the knowledge has been lost for practical effects. You think it can still be as good?
Well, that's the interesting question. Well, I don't think everybody who worked in practical effects is dead. It's only been 15 years, but...
Yeah.
Or 20. 20
yeah,
now. 20
yeah, but
years.
it's not like a bicycle. I mean, you might forget eventually. So...
Well, at least the basis is still there. I think you might know. But that's the interesting question to answer. And like more than that, like, are practical effects still effective after all of the digital technology? Or are we still respecting practical effects in the context of we know that this is old and it should look a little bit crappy? It's sort of like, I like watching the King Kong, like the 1930s movie, black and white one. I'm like, wow, this is really well done. I was like, yeah, but if you did that today and you gave us exactly the same quality of stop motion, it'd be like, this is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, but stop motion, although stop motion it's a good example because it has improved through time.
That's true.
You watch the Clash of the Titans, which is also stop motion, and it's like leaps and bounds above King Kong.
Yeah.
And if they had kept going with that, and I mean, didn't they make one movie recently with stop motion?
Several. There's Paranorman. There was stop motion. And
there's one from Nightmare Before Christmas. The same one.
Frankenweenie?
I think. But anyway, one of them was like completely stop motion. And like all the puppets, you could tighten the screws and they move the mouth, everything differently. And again, it's a steady improvement. And see. Where did that progression kept going, or did special effects, digital effects, just halted completely, and now you're kind of back to not step one, but a few steps before where we were before.
That's an interesting question to look at. I don't know, but it's why I'm interested in the project. I have to say, I want to know how we perceive practical effects today and what it's like to look at a movie done practical effects. Does it hold up? Is it better? Because there's a part of me that suspects it might be better. Because there's nothing more boring in a horror movie than digital effects. Because it's all smooth and it looks animated. We still haven't quite figured out how to make it completely real.
Yeah.
And so there's sort of like this layer of unreality that sort of creates a disconnect where I'm like, oh no, Tai Chi zombie, because their movement is so smooth.
Yeah.
Who cares? Whereas,
especially
if you don't have that.
Zombies, it's so lazy to make those, digital when you can just hire an actor and put him in a costume.
That's a fair point.
But yes, certain, especially when these times they're going way too far in the digital. It's like, come on, you could do it cheaper if you did it practical, if you just thought about it for a few seconds, But if this is going all practical, I mean, that could actually be very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It could be a really neat thing. And that's what they're doing. And even if it fails, honestly, I would be inclined to respect the projects for just going well, you tried something.
Yeah, exactly. It would fuel the argument of people, oh man, digital effects look like crap. And, look at what we tried to do with, with this movie and, talk about it. How does it compare to digital and, what worked, what didn't work. And, maybe we can come up with a mix of the two, where you can, get a perfect mix of practical and digital where it looks better, and by combining the two, it doesn't have to be all one or one or the other. Just, maybe a merger to make things look awesome, Yeah,
that's a very good point. Yeah, and again, I don't want to sound like one of those uppity web critics going, practical was so much better than digital. No, I'm just digital will get to the point it needs to be, but it's still a new technology, so it's not there yet. And that doesn't mean that I hate digital. It's just, it's new and it's imperfect. And one of the other things that I find interesting about this project, the remake that is that it's written by Diablo Cody.
Okay.
Diablo Cody is a writer, indie writer mostly, who came to the scene and sort of excited everyone by writing Juno.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You're like, wow, that's a really witty, quirky voice to put on Evil Dead, of all things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the dialogue being that memorable. Quite interesting to have the character, hear the character banter, between them, being possessed or dying. That'll be,
But at the same time, like, maybe that's what you need, because it's like, this is a movie where the plot is so absent, and you don't want a plot. Like, I don't want a remake of Evil Dead where, like, there's twists and turns, and it turns out that they were all dead all along, and it's like I don't want any of that crap. Like,
yeah.
I don't want a third act. I just want 4 people in a cabin and all hell breaks loose. But you gotta have something to entertain me. And maybe somebody who has a unique voice who can make dialogue particularly entertaining, exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, that whole, why are you torturing me? Okay, come on, seriously.
Yeah, no, that's true. The dialogue is so functional.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I need to say this, so I will say it.
Pretty much.
My girlfriend cannot get out of here. Well, you take care of your girlfriend. I am leaving.
I am back, and I am in pain, and things happen to me.
Yes. We cannot escape. Okay, we cannot escape. They told us that.
I want to get out. I want to stay. We have arguments for both.
Exactly. It's pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, hopefully Diablo Cody will sort of spice that up where it'll essentially be the same by necessity, but it won't feel that way.
Exactly. Just, hide the function between, under a little bit of, style.
Yeah. You know what I hope, actually? I hope that it turns out not to be a remake. That it turns out to be a sequel. Because that cabin was never destroyed or anything.
Okay.
So it could just be like a whole new bunch of people end up in the same cabin. And then, like, I would love it for Bruce Campbell to sort of show up and go like, don't be in this cabin! What the hell?
Yes, from out of nowhere. That'd be great. What are you doing here? That's not important right now.
I guess that's a good time to end it, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Alright, so, if you want to share with us your thoughts on Evil Dead, both the original and the remake, well, let's throw in the sequels. We love the conversation.
Yep.
You can write us at mail@idiomatic.com, and we'll see you when the next sequel/remake comes out.
Indeed. I understand that now, yes.
Yeah, so, and infection horror, if you will, tends to get to me more.
You mean when you're perfectly fine, all of a sudden you get possessed and, the people become the bad guys instead of, having something else kill them off one by one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And all the stuff that's related to that, like Lamberto Bava's Demons sort of works with the same mechanics, and I find it really unsettling, whereas most people find it really corny.
Okay.
But so, and all those camera tricks, I think that's what makes the movie interesting. It's a filmmaker, Sam Raimi, just starting out, not really having a budget to work with at all,
yeah, and
sort of finding creative ways to tell the same story that today would take about $2-3 million to tell.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah, I do understand what you said. There are certain fun parts of the movie I did enjoy, like when he's, about to chainsaw his girlfriend, and he just,
Jackass decides to read from the Necronomicon.
It was actually recording. They pressed play, and it was the recording that was read, so you didn't even have to read it this time. It's just, pre-recorded stuff.
That's right. Oh yeah, and then there's a girl going, stop the recording, and the guy goes like, no, I don't want to, because I'm a jerk.
Exactly.
And of course, they awaken a demon, an evil force, and they all get possessed one by one until there's the last man standing.
Yeah.
As far as plots go, it's about as simple as it gets.
I know. Was it like one of the first ones or something? That's why it's so simple? Or
it was before the formula was well established, but it is not the first one by any means.
All right.
Alright, so the movie is highly celebrated. It's one of those highly regarded movies, but I know for a fact that you don't feel the same, so I'm kind of curious.
Again, maybe because I saw it after all the other movies that, I've heard of, but I thought it was very bland. I expected everything that was going to happen, and it happened. It was okay. It wasn't spectacular. It was just okay. Nothing really blew me away. I will say the special effects looked very good. Because practical effects, very nice, very good looking.
Especially for its budget. Like, it's a teeny tiny budget.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this movie was funded by a dentist who went like, oh, you want to make a movie? Yeah, all right, I'll put some money in there. Like, it's like the tiniest of budgets ever.
a dentist. He could have plugged himself somewhere in the movie or something. And the acting was okay, satisfactory. I didn't find it that scary though. It was like,
See, that's interesting because that movie still creeps me out today.
really?
Yeah, I find it very disturbing and very unsettling. And I think it's mostly narratively speaking. Why the movie is so celebrated is because of what it brought to cinema, which has nothing to do with the story, which, as we've established, hardly there.
Yeah.
But there's an uncanny amount of really cool new camera tricks invented there. The classic Raimi cam, which is the camera that's like sort of moving as if it's a beast in and of itself. That was new. He also removed a couple of frames from the movie just to make the movements a little bit off, and also I think it's to help with the claymation so that the real life actors would be as sort of
jerky a little bit.
Jerky as the special effects, so it wouldn't feel off. But and that sort of unsettles me. There's something illogical about what's going on and weird and
I saw that and I could see that. That's why I guess the special effects were so great with the claymation, because it blended very well. You could see like it looks as good as the rest of the movie basically. So I could.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, last Friday we got to see the remake of Evil Dead, or rather the remake of The Evil Dead, which they called Evil Dead because the Terminators are out this season.
Yeah, totally not cool.
And you know what that means? It's time for another Don't F with the Original, in which we will discuss, of course, the original Sam Raimi cult classic, The Evil Dead.
Yeah. I'm Nicholas, the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and film critic. So, we'll start with a synopsis, although honestly I think everybody knows the story. A bunch of young adults go to a little cabin in the woods, and some